There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out, slowly feel all that's around you, all that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite, yeah, when we unite, oh, we unite, yeah, yeah, when we unite, yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here. There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allowing unfold. Embrace and let go. Trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love. Welcome to peace.
Yes, yes, yes. Peace and blessings, beautiful people. Welcome to love. Welcome to peace, which is what I am affirming right now. Okay. Yes, it's kind of that day here. Let me have a quick chat with India before I get started. Good morning, Wilder. Nice to see you. Quali's in the house. Let's see, how do I do this? I don't know. I'm just gonna have to do it while you're here because I need to give Rev D the lock, but I can't log in, not lock. There's no way to do it because I can give it to India. Can I? No, I can't. I don't know why your microphone is unmuted, India, for some reason, but I've muted it anyway. Let's see. All right, just bear with me before we start the show. Oh, I'm so glad Rev D's here today. I'm telling you. I don't know if I would have done today's show. All right, let's do this and go here. I like that my perfectionist side, it's actually not having a tantrum. It's trying to. It's like, why are we doing this right now? Because we are. That's why. All right. Yes. Okay. I think I'm ready to start. You good at India? You good? All right, great. All right, people, we're here. How is that happening? I got to find a way to look at the chat before I get going because now here's something else that's not happening. I don't see you on my Facebook. This show should be right at the top, so just bear with me. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I'm going to do something that I would not want to do, but I'll edit out later. So this is supposed to be at the top, but it's not. So just bear with us while we work out this technical. Maybe because I don't have this up, which I don't think that's why. Because I'm going to have this up and then take it off because the camera sucks out loud. All right. Maybe that should fix it on Facebook. Yeah. So India, do you see the show at the top on Facebook? You don't? Yeah, I don't know why. This is the second time we've done that. But anyway, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to scroll down and I can see. Okay, I can see it now. I'm going to click on this. There we go. Now I can see it. Okay, so actually I don't need to see it there. India, I'm just going to have you take care of Facebook because it's getting in the way of me seeing what I need to see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to start. The video is still kind of jacked up. I jimmy rigged some things over here. Let's see, that might make a difference. All right, good. So here we go. We're going to work with what we got. It's that kind of day today. You can see me. Yes, thank you, new Jace. Let me go in the chat room. Linda is in the house. New Jace is in the house. She's on YouTube. Rev D's in the house. So I just want to say good morning, Good afternoon, good evening, good night, and good day to you wherever you are. I got to look in this camera, right? Wherever you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. This is Being You, the Journey Back to Yourself, episode 5, season 2, episode 5. This is a platform, a space where we invite you, nudge you to see yourself in the world and to take a look at how you see yourself in the world, how you see the world, how you see the world in you, and how you whatever, because I don't have my script. And I'm just all over the place today because, like I said, I'm glad Rev D's here today. And it's funny, I was kind of cool when I woke up this morning. We'll talk more about that. Rev D's in the house. She joins me every first Tuesday of the month. And today's topic is feel, deal, and heal. And there's a little, parentheses, like they say in America. In UK, it's brackets. Like America, what I know is, yes, there's a lot going on in America, but this is also a reflection of what we're going through, what humanity is going through. So America's on stage right now in a big way and is affecting all of us. So Rev D, she is, you've heard her, and if you don't, you can check out her website. It is Debra L Johnson.org, right, Rev D? I got it right? Yeah, .org. I'm going to bring Rev D on now. And so it's Debra L Johnson.org. And you can find out she is a sacred activist. She's powerful. She has a way of just making all these complicated spiritual principles. She just makes it look like you're back in kindergarten. And you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. A, B, C. It just makes it easy. I don't know why I don't hear you though, Rev D. You're muted. You're not muted, right? Okay, I can hear you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, good. And what I love about Rev D, selfishly, is she helps me find peace within myself. And I woke up this morning feeling kind of heavy, Rev D, and I didn't know what it was. And I pulled out what I call the metaphysical belt and beating myself up. It's like, I don't like when I wake up and feel disconnected. I need to do better. I need to connect and know that I'm one. And it took a while to get to a point where I realized, wait a minute, I'm grieving. It's like, oh, as soon as I heard that, it's like, oh, that's what's happening. So most of today, really, I've just been listening to music. I didn't want to hear opinions. I didn't want to hear anything that supports my opinion. I didn't want to hear anybody give me a new way. Just give me music, because that was keeping me in my center. Mm-hmm. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, psychics and skeptics, physical beings and non-physical beings, help me welcome my mentor, my friend, my midwife, Rev D, Reverend Debra L Johnson. Hey, Rev D.
Hey there.
How are you?
Good to be with all of you.
Yes.
During these extraordinary times.
It is indeed.
Yes, light.
It is indeed.
Session.
You ain't never lied. I have been, as I've been preparing for the show, I've been planning so much to come up with questions, but it's almost like a part of me hooks into something that could be a question, but somehow I just couldn't interpret it. So it's like Spirit was saying, just relax, just show up. And that's where I'm at. So I'm ready to jump in. They Feel, Deal, and Heal. If you want to find out more about it, you can find out. Rev D is the author of 2 volumes, Letters from the Infinite, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Well, Letters from the Infinite, there's 2 series, right? Yeah, 2 volumes. And one is called The Sacred Yes, and the other one is Your Deepest Intent. Right here. And in this one, The Sacred Yes, work out this camera thing, is where there's a section on feel, deal, and heal. And I've been feeling, I'm dealing with it, but I don't know if I've moved to healing yet. But I'm sure I will be after the show. This is volume 2, Your Deepest Intent. as I always tell you, if you've never heard me, you got to get these books. It's written for times like this.
Yeah.
It's perfect for times like this. So, Rev D,
Mhm.
life is in session.
Life is
There's a
insane.
lot of there's a lot of questions. On Sunday, you were telling us to find the good, and I'm like, I'm giving you side eye, find the good. But it's like, and I do get it. To be quite honest, I do get it, and I think part of the feel, deal, and heal is we feel it. The dealing part is I think we get stuck sometimes because there are people who are angry and want change. But we must move to the healing to bring about a new reality. So, what's on your mind? What a segue, right? What's on your mind, Rev D? I'm grieving, so I have permission to just not make sense.
Well,
Mm.
and I'm actually very happy to hear you say that you're grieving, because I feel like out of all the things, that's the point that I think is being missed the most. Um, so, like a little bit of context, here we are in the midst of this pandemic, global pandemic, and here we are at this extraordinary place where there's been so much shutdown. The economies all over the world are taking hits. I think 1 out of 4 people in the United States now is unemployed. We don't know like where things are going. People have been stripped of their normal outlets. We haven't had sporting events or concerts. People can't go to the clubs or the bars or do whatever it is that they do. Kids have been home for months. Stressed out parents trying to homeschool their kids. There've been all these things. And then we have all the social political stuff that's going on. And the things that have been igniting the protests that have been happening most recently over the past week with the murder, you just got to call it straight out, of George Floyd in Minneapolis, with the police officer keeping his knee on his neck while we're watching on camera the man literally plead for his life and other officers around, and you're just literally watching the man die. And it's caused an uproar. We haven't seen this kind of outrage since the 60s. And to be honest with you right now, we don't really know what's going on. On the one hand, you have a lot of peaceful protesters. When I say peaceful, I'm saying they're not resorting to violence, but that doesn't mean that they are not outraged, who really want to make a difference. And then we're having, this shadow stuff that's also going on. And we honestly don't know who's behind it. There's speculation that it's people from the far left and the people from the far right, including some foreign influence that's agitating so that we kind of implode from the inside. And this is important for us to remember, because the threat to our society now is not from the outside, from the sense of nuclear bombs or things falling. When I was growing up, we used to do these drop and duck drills and get up underneath the table. And I'm at the tail end of the baby boom, and we have fallout shelters. We have, the basement and the house and all the rest of that. But that's not what's going on. Now, the new weapon is divisiveness. Now the new weapon is hatred. Now the new weapon is mistrust and distrust, a fighting at each other, so that it wears you out. And the exhaustion of it all makes you give in and stop fighting. So what does this have to do with grief? Too often we think of grief as merely the pain, the suffering that we feel in regards to things that we have lost. Yes, that is indeed part of it. But what I've grown to understand in my 20 plus years of working with people in prison, males in prison exclusively up till now, that the deeper grief, the deeper pain isn't the mourning of what you had, but the mourning of what you didn't have. The life you didn't have a chance to have. The career you didn't have a chance to have. The dreams, the unrequited love. You know, long after relationships, one-on-one relationships have ended, long after you don't even want to be in a relationship with that person anymore, long after the divorce, the pain is not the loss of the marriage that you actually had. The pain is letting go of the dream that you were holding on to of the relationship that you thought that you were going to have. It's one thing to grieve the father that died. It's another to grieve the father that you never met. So a lot of the righteous indignation that we see going on out there, the cities in flames and all these other things, is, yes, part of the rage in the sense of loss of people dying in the street. But there's also that sense of the loss of the liberty we never had, the freedom we never had, the justice that we never had, the compassion, the opportunities that we never had. And the pain of not having that stuff can just erupt, particularly if it's been squelched down, as has been happening with us for the past couple of months around this nation, as we have been on the slowdown and shutdowns in regard to the coronavirus. So there's these extremes that happen, and that's the nature of change. There's the pendulum swing. So we go from shelter in place, complete lockdowns, like empty streets, to boom, people out in the streets, lots of contact, people wanting to be in community, people wanting to connect, with one another. We go from one extreme to the other. You go from Obama to the Tea Party. You go from Obama then to Trump. That's part of this nature of change and the grief that comes along with it. So just breathe that in for a moment. You don't live in your own separate world, in your own separate consciousness. There's something that's happening. Volatility has a purpose. Volatility is what happens when different things come together energetically. There's a reaction. Okay. I don't care whether it's a chemistry lab and the combustion. I don't care if it's the congressional halls. I don't care whether it's the confines of your own home. That the volatility is the sign that something new is trying to happen. The volatility is the sign that things just can't stay like this. Even if it's a natural phenomenon like an earthquake, something's rumbling, something's trying to come forth. And it would do us well in this moment right now, even in the midst of all of the grief, even in the midst of all of the drama. We cannot heal what we do not feel. Feel, deal, and heal. You cannot heal what you do not feel, deal, and heal. So this life has this wonderful, beautiful way of bringing circumstances into our life that are working with us towards our healing. Because the circumstances give us this wonderful opportunity to try to see things differently. This wonderful opportunity to stretch, this wonderful opportunity to grow, this wonderful opportunity to see things anew. Why waste a good crisis? The universe has gone way out of its way to create this moment. This is an unprecedented moment in history. Don't try to go back. Don't try. Humpty Dumpty has fallen off the wall. Okay, and all the king's horses, yes. Humpty Dumpty ain't coming back. So this is a moment of evolution going forward. So our question becomes, what's next? But you can't get to the what's next until you just stop a moment and grieve. Yeah, there'll be the new relationship. Yeah, there'll be the new career. There'll be the new whatever. But for a moment, sometimes you just got to be in it. And grieving, yes, we do some of it alone, but this is the time that you want to band together. And you don't band together in your grieving just around the pain, just around the death, just around the dying. We are hospicing out the old now. When you grieve, you also come together and you tell stories about the good stuff, the stuff you want to remember, the legacy that you want to carry on. Now is the time for us to vision and to speak of the world that we want to have. The world as we want to see it. And I'm actually going to be putting a post later on today for a workshop. It'll be a free workshop that will give us skills building on how we do that.
Yes, it's definitely needed. Because when I hear some of the people that I would call a great mind, and they talk about what's going on, they break it down so well. And sometimes I'm just like, yes, I didn't have the words, but that's what I'm feeling. They would then end their conversation. I'm generalizing here. Most of them that I've heard would end their conversation by saying, I don't have the answer. I don't have the solution. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of confusing. And it's to me, but it seems like we know we want justice. Mm-hmm. We know we want Black men, Black women, children, people to, we want the killing to stop. We want it to stop. But somehow it seems to me that there is a collective hope of there is a particular answer that we're looking for that we don't know. We feel it, but we don't know it. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that's a problem. That phenomena is a problem because we're looking for answers. We're looking outside of ourselves for what we can latch on to bring in. But we can't do that. That it shifts from the inside out. It shifts from the inside out. That if we really want the peace that we say that we want, then we have to be peaceful. I'm not trying to justify the cops, but we are a culture that worships violence. We worship violence. We do violence for entertainment. We do violence for sport. Our children are spending their time killing people on screen. This idea that the way that you end the problem is by killing the other person. No. There's a consciousness around that. There's a consciousness around that. So, yes, we want people, Black people, to stop dying at the hands of the police. Okay, yeah, that's great. But the police are existing within the context of a larger society. Okay? They just have the authority to do what everybody else would do if they could do and thought they could get away with it.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
They just got the license. But it's sort of like, who has the keys? I'm not kidding. It's like I said, I do the prison work. Who's the criminal up in there? The one with the one inside or the one holding the keys? We have to want more than just a behavior. Listen to what I'm saying. The behavior isn't the end all, be all, do all. The behavior is the indication of a shift and a change in consciousness. We need to go away from law enforcement back to the peace officer. What happened to the officers of the peace? What happened to that? That's where we need to be. Officers of the peace. We have to want peace. I was in the demonstrations here and doing everything I could to try to at least be on the outside of the marches and keep a little bit of distance, because I am very concerned about the COVID rebound with what it is that's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart was split in two. On the one hand, living in a community that's predominantly white, it was so moving to see thousands and thousands of white people shouting, Black lives matter, that they matter, and stop the racism. It was so good to not be alone. That was so good. And then my heart broke when I'm hearing the main organizers and the main speakers saying at the end, when the march culminated on the steps of the police department, we'll be peaceful as long as we can, but we're not turning another cheek. And my heart broke. Just broke. And I said, I gotta write about this. This was day before yesterday. I still haven't had a chance to write about it because I've been doing so many of these shows. But what I want to write about is, why don't we believe in peace? Why don't we believe that peace is the answer? We keep searching for an answer out there, but don't believe that peace is the answer. Why do so many of us who say we want justice believe that peace is like some nicety thing? It's some wishy-washy that, yeah, you can take it so far, but you know it's not going to win. You know, peace can never be the way that it is. You know, at some point in time, we're going to have to drop peace and make it happen with the violence. Why don't we believe in peace? Because it's that attitude that's the same attitude that's on the side of the police. Yeah, we'll try to handle you peacefully as long as we can. And then we got to do what we got to do. Their fuse is just a little shorter than the civilian fuse. But why don't we believe in peace? And not peace as some abstract concept, but peace as the place where we want to live. Peace, the place that we want to be. Peace, the energetic vibration that we want for our families, for our children, for the future, for society. Do you talk about what you want and not just what you don't want? All the marchers shouting about the racism and this and that. But why aren't we shouting about peace? Why aren't we shouting about justice? Why aren't our voices just as loud for love? For community? For coming together? When will we be rageful about that? Because as long as we're stuck where we are now, it's just more of the same thing. It's like a football game where you've got the offense and you've got the defense, but they're both suited up, down on the court, playing the same game, just trying to block each other. We need to play a different game. We need to get off that field. We need to take off that uniform. We need to stop using that gear, that equipment, and pick up the mantle of peace and justice.
You know, you as always, you touch on something that I've been really wrestling with, because I've heard friends who would say on the spiritual path and doing healing work, and somehow I've heard them say, as the conversation is as if love and healing what we're dealing with is sort of mutually exclusive. Or, you know, if you're angry, you got to put love to the side. Or you can be a light worker, but right now there's a lot of darkness, as if, you know, we can keep them separate. And I have been really, not struggling, but just wondering what that's about. And I think what you said is like, we don't believe in love the way we say we do. We don't believe in peace, because if we really believe in peace like we say we do, we believe in love. Somehow it seems like love is simply, like you said, like this kind of soft, something you do when you really like somebody. But the love that I'm talking about, I know you're speaking of, is like, you're getting on my last Mother, Father, God nerve. But I'm going to love you, and there's things that we still need to correct. And loving and being in peace and living peace calls for us to really face ourselves, right?
Yes, and it's more than that. See, love is not an emotion. The love, you know, King said, he said, I'm not talking about a bunch of emotional bosh. A love, the agapeo love, the Greek agapeo love, it's a direction of the will. It is choice. It is that glue. It is the unifying factor. It is an energetic field. It is the oneness. We are told to love our God with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our soul, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. To love your enemy. We're talking about oneness here. We're talking about oneness. And this kind of love is redemptive. This kind of love is unifying. This kind of love will cradle you. And this kind of love also comes with a can of whoop ass. If you're a parent and you see your kids going astray, you're not just going to coddle them in being astray. You're going to do everything that you can to bring them back into the fold. Because they're your children. Because they are one with you. And you are never, ever giving up on them. We are all children of God. But we've given up on each other. We've given up on each other. This is leave no one behind. No one. And that includes the so-called oppressor. One of the most moving things Martin Luther King Jr. ever said in my mind. He said, yeah, I want to live a long life. Everybody wants to live long. But if my physical death will save my children and my white brothers and sisters from a permanent psychological death, I can think of no other act that would be more redemptive. That's extraordinary. To say if my physical death is going to save the soul of this nation. Like, yes, we want justice. Yes, we want folks behind bars. But not just to throw away the key and to punish them. They need to be redeemed. They need to be redeemed. See, oppression doesn't just hurt the oppressed. More than one person died there. George Floyd wasn't the only one dying. Chauvin, the dude with knee on his neck, he was dying. He was dying to the truth of his own being. He was dying to his own spirituality. Whatever it is, that sickness caused by such a tremendous sense of separation. Not knowing that's your neighbor. Not knowing that will make you do some awful things. We need to not just pray about the police. We need to pray for them. We need to pray for them. It's like a spiritual aikido. The force isn't a force unless it's up against something. You kind of move to the left, kind of move to the right, and then you use that force against itself to calm it down. Leave no one behind. Leave no one behind. Because if we don't have that attitude, it's just a question of who gets left behind. If it's about dominate, and you hear this stuff coming out of the White House where, you need to dominate and the good guy has got to overpower the bad guy. Well, that's the consciousness that got us here. We just watched it play out on the streets of Minneapolis. We don't need more of that. That's not what we need. We need justice. We need truth. We need love. And we need forgiveness. We need forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about forgiving the act. Forgiveness lets you stand back in your power. Lack of forgiveness ties you to what's going on. So you get dragged down with it. It's like when the people got killed in the church, in Reverend Pinckney's church. I think it was in North Carolina a few years ago, where Dylan Roof, the young white guy, sits in there with them in prayer for like over an hour and then shoots 9 of them and kills them. And when he's taken away to prison or taken away to jail, It was so moving to see on camera the members of that family going to the jail and telling him, I forgive you. And people asking me, well, how can you do that? How can they do that? And I said, Dylan Roos got the cooties. You know, like when you're a little kid and you run around and you don't want to touch people because they got the cooties. He got the cooties. You don't want them cooties on you. Those are your cooties. We got to go on with life. Those are your cooties. Forgiveness gets the cooties off of you. Forgiveness lets them keep their cooties. Like when Martin Luther King is walking down the street and the white man comes up to him and he spits in his face. No, comes up to him and asks him, are you Martin Luther King Jr.? Yes, sir, I am. Spits on him. King opens up his coat, takes out his handkerchief, wipes his face, wipes off his suit, grabs the white dude's hand, sticks the handkerchief in it and says, I think this belongs to you. And keeps on stepping down the street. Do you want to be free? Do you want to be free? I'm not saying that there shouldn't be righteous indignation, but if you just let it be rage and all you want is people to pay and some punitive stuff, you're not going to have the just, peaceful society that you want to have. The answer's not out there. It's in you. Can you be it? Can you be it? Feel, deal, and heal. Can you be it? Can you set the vibratory tone that calls? Somebody's got to start resonating where we want to be. Some people call it fake it till you make it. Some people call it active fit. I don't care what you call it. But it's tuning up to it. See, slaves didn't get on the freedom train. No slave got on the freedom train. The only people that got on the freedom train were the people who were enslaved, knowing that they were free. They weren't trying to get to the north to let somebody make them free. They wanted to get to the north so people would recognize them for the person that they already are. When they got on the freedom train, they said, I'm already free. I'm just unjustly enslaved. So we keep waiting to get freed from the police. We keep waiting for things to change before we know we're full-fledged citizens. We are full-fledged citizens now. And we need to walk the streets like that, like the people did in the civil rights movement. Not begging, not asking, but knowing this is who we are with such a dignity, with such a purpose. That sort of, how dare you treat me any other kind of way? Don't you know who I am? We have to live there, not wait to see it. Be it. Then we'll see it.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Being You, the journey back to yourself. Rev D, Rev Deborah L Johnson. She joins me every first Tuesday of the month to do what she's doing right now. If I try to describe what she does, it won't even compare to what you just heard. So I'm not even going to attempt to do that. Yeah, well, if you have any questions, we're happy to take questions as well in the chat room. And thank you for listening. So, Rev D, I don't know if this is sort of going backwards, but it's present for me because I couldn't really organize my thoughts today for today's show. Spirit said, just show up. So that's what I'm doing. one thing I'm sure of for myself is what happened to George Floyd. What I feel about that is not just about what happened to George Floyd. It's all the killings, just the injustice in the world with men and women. And I even find it interesting that when they're talking about police brutality, somehow they seem to just highlight the men when women is being killed, children is being killed. And as you said, we live in a violent country. The thing that come up for me is, what would you say, well, specifically really Black people? I mean, everybody gets re-traumatized, but what would you say to Black people who don't even know they're being re-traumatized by seeing these images, and the re-traumatization actually hijacks, hooks them, that they can't even turn towards forgiveness or love because the pain is so deep. They don't even know. They don't have words for what is happening.
If Black Lives Matter, then let's act like Black Lives Matter. For every one cop that kills a Black man, there are 10 Black men who've killed a Black man. I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, sometimes known as the Holiness Church. And the presiding bishop is a guy named Charles Blake, Bishop Charles Blake. His church is practically down the street from where I grew up. It's on Crenshaw Boulevard. It's called Angelus Church of God in Christ. A lot of celebrities go there, Magic Johnson and folks like that, Denzel Washington. And there is a billboard that has been on top of their original church. They've since built another cathedral. And that billboard has a picture of a funeral. It has a picture of a coffin and 6 pallbearers, all Black males. And the caption reads, "Will it take 6 strong men to bring you back to church?" That's the billboard on the presiding bishop's church. That billboard wasn't geared about the police. And I'm not saying that it isn't important. But part of what's happening here is that where are we uplifting Black men? Where in the Black community are we really showing care and consideration for Black men? If they are the endangered species that we say that they are and use that kind of language, it sounds a little animalistic to me, but I get where people are coming from. What are we doing for our Black youth? What are we doing for our young Black boys? How are we rallying as community to keep them safe, to give them the skills, to make sure that they're educated, to give them internships, to make sure that they can put food on the table, to give them sporting opportunities, to let them have their creative talents. And the same thing for the girls. What I know is that people treat your house the way you treat your house. And I'm not trying to escape all of this slavery and, God knows I know all that. And yes, we need to heal all that. The only point that I'm trying to make is that the way through right now, if this were a thing about women, our road to healing is not waiting till men treat us better. It's not waiting till men stop raping us. Should they stop raping us? Yes. But the path to our healing can't depend upon what men do. So it's the same thing in the Black community. It's the same thing all over the nation, that the path to our healing cannot wait for what the oppressor does or not. Feel, deal, heal. We have to do our own internal healing. We got to embrace ourselves. I love it at the end, and I'm not talking about the Tyler Perry version of the movie. I'm talking about the play for colored girls only. And oh my God, it's so beautiful. At the end, the 6 women, they're coming and they're loving all over each other. There are no props, it's just them. And they say there's got to be a laying on of hands. Oh, there's got to be a laying on of hands. Where are we cooking food for one another? Where are we sitting around the fireside or the stoops outside of the steps outside of the apartment building that you're living in? Where are we drinking some sweet tea during the summertime in the deep South and playing with the kids and dreaming and envisioning who we are and what we're about? We got to love up on our own selves. And that's the problem with the re-traumatization. The re-traumatization makes us go into our own self-hatred. That's the biggest danger of the re-traumatization, is that we go back into the something's wrong with me. And now it's the time for us to have compassion and to love up on each other. There's a different kind of quiet strength that comes from that. You believe in you. You believe in you. You uplift yourself. You believe in women. You want the violence against women to stop? If every other record you look into, calling them bees and hoes and all the rest of that, do people know what you consider to be sacred? They know what you're mad about. But do they know what you're uplifting? Do they know what you consider to be sacred? The people that you're supposedly fighting for? How does anybody know that you have reverence for them? What call to action have you made for people to join you in that reverence? Just saying.
So another question that I actually see this question online, and I'm in a better place about it, but usually when I see it, it's like, what kind of dumb A question is that? And white people who are saying, this breaks my heart. What can I do to help? Now I'm going to be a bit more transparent, because I'm thinking, if all there's going on in the world, in America, and you don't know what to do to help based on all the pain that people are going through, I don't know if I got any time to tell you what's needed. So here's the way I look at it, Rev D. It's like, if a house is burning down, or a child is being abused, or a woman is being abused, a guy is being abused, I don't think anybody's just going to stand and say, what can I do to help? We're going to take action. So my response has been sort of a bit on the judgmental side, like, come on, what kind of dumbass question is that? Can you lift me up? There are white people who, and I know that some people are asking, well, maybe all of them are genuine about the question, what can I do to help?
Well, I'm going to ask you to change your attitude about it.
I'm here.
because you'd be just as mad if those white people just start doing stuff without consulting anybody,
True.
without asking what was needed or what was wanted.
Yeah.
If they took the lead and didn't step back for a moment and check in with the people that they're trying to help.
Yes.
Because you do stuff with people, not just for people.
Yeah, I so get that, because that's part of the things I've had to do. Is like, well, if they just went ahead and did it, what you said exactly, then people will be mad. We didn't ask you to do that. So
you'd be just as mad. Okay. So what you're pointing out now is part of the deficit of this movement. Obama just came out yesterday and was telling people you got to organize. And I'm not trying to call you out personally, but the fact that there's not a collective answer to that question is saying we ain't all that serious about systemic change. Because if the ones who could possibly help make the change come to you and say, what do you want to do? And you ain't got an answer.
You're right.
This is what I mean when I say we've got to spend time with each other, talking, healing, organizing, envisioning, so that there literally is a roadmap. There literally is a game plan. It's like when people ask me that, I got an answer for that. It's like, I know what I would like them to do. Okay. So if this were men coming up to a bunch of women and saying, hey, I don't like this stuff that I'm seeing going out there. I see your Me Too movement. Like, what can I do? This is so important because it's always going to take the oppressors to help. Whoever's in the dominant position, they are part of the movement. The change isn't going to happen systemically until they institute it, because they're the only ones in the position of power to institute it.
Yes.
See, they're the only ones in the position to make the laws. They're the only ones in the position to change the laws. So we want them. We want them. It's like, who's going to weed out the cops? Who's going to train the cops? Who's going to hire the cops? Who's going to hold the cops accountable? It ain't going to be the Black community.
Right.
These are what you call allies. And you want your allies. And the last thing you want to do is make your ally feel stupid and incompetent because they don't know what even you don't know. You want to get mad at them because they don't know what you don't even know. It would be different if it was like self-apparent and everybody knew and they just weren't getting it. But even an exploration together, wouldn't that be novel? What do you have to offer? What resources do you have? What connections do you have? What are your platforms? Who can you bring into this conversation? What's your little piece here? And how can we get you suited up and geared up to do whatever it is that you can do? So my answer to this right now is, white people, the best thing that you can do for me right now is claim your whiteness without shame, without guilt. Own your people. Don't denounce them. Don't try to prove your app by proving to me how white you're not. That doesn't help. What we need is for everybody to go to your folk and deal. I am serious about this. We are less than 6 months away from the next election. And white people, you don't make me feel any more comfortable telling me how you have unfriended all your family and you don't even talk to them because they're Republican. You are not making me feel safe by telling me you don't see color or trying to prove to me how progressive you are by being over here with me. See, in the United States, white people are in a civil war. And if you look at it from a geographic standpoint, it's the same civil war we've always been in. You have people on the far right who are trying to, quote unquote, make America great again. They are almost exclusively white. Then on the other hand, you've got the non-white people. And then you've got some white people who are over here with the non-white people who want inclusivity and diversity. They've got a multi-ethnic approach to life, and that's the way that they want to see it. So you got all people over here, but you got these white people divided. Some want the all white thing, some want the diversity thing. Those of you who want the diversity thing, I love you. But now is not the time to hang out exclusively over here with the people of color and bad mouthing all the other white people over here. We need you to do the hard work. We need you to have the conversations. We need you to listen. We need you to be the bridge. We need you to be the bridge. We don't have access to the people that you have access to. And this is true for everybody, wherever you are. Be the bridge. Be the bridge. We're talking about the oneness here. Show up with love. Show up with compassion. Listen. Listen. Because everybody's in pain. And I'm not trying to raise some people's pain above other people's pain. When Obama first got elected, the nation ran out of bullets. The nation ran out of bullets. That's how scared they were. And at some point, the fear level has to go down. What I'm asking everybody is like to de-escalate. I'm not in the position to talk the white people down that are on the cliffs, that are on the edges. But my white allies, you do have access. And you can help talk them off the cliffs. Okay? I'm just saying, wherever you are, whatever influence you have, the most important thing right now that you can do to help. I belong to the Pachamama organization. I'm on their board of directors, the Pachamama Alliance. We work with the indigenous peoples in the rainforest to help preserve the sacred headwaters and the Amazon forests in Ecuador and in Peru. And what the indigenous people first told us 20-something years ago is, if you come here to like help us and to try to save us, you need to go. But if you understand that your fate is interconnected with mine, if you really get this and you really understand this, then you go home. You do your work. You help to change the mindset, help awaken your people from this mass dream of consumerism so that the problem doesn't have to happen in the first place. See, we all got to go back because you can't heal something with the same consciousness that created it. So you do your part in your neck of the wood right now, in these next few months. That's the most important thing. That's the way to show the solidarity.
Yes. And speaking of solidarities, there's been some police chiefs that I've seen that just the way they're dealing with this, it's just so, it just moves me.
Yes.
You know, they're talking, they're speaking truth to the secrets that's been kept. I mean, it's just even the governor of Minnesota, when he first started talking, I was like, whoa. So things are changing, right?
But this is exactly what I'm saying. Is that for the first time, I'm hearing police officers call police officers out.
Yes.
This is the first time we've ever had an arrest. This is the first time we've ever had a firing, because they realize that this isn't just about the Black people dying. It's a statement about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. They're trying to redeem their own people. They're trying to redeem the cops. They're trying to redeem them. It's beautiful to take a knee out here with our police chiefs. You know, they're not all bad. It's not that monolithic. Okay. But this is this opportunity that we have for new alliances, this opportunity to move forward, but you won't know if you don't talk. If you don't try to find some common ground, then all of you do what you can do where you can do it. I highly, highly, highly recommend a book called White Fragility. White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. That book right now has turned more people's heads. It's written by a white woman for white people. And I'm in a lot of different discussion groups and whatnot about that book. Read that book. Because it will also be a really good roadmap.
Yeah.
What it is that we need to do to deconstruct some of this stuff.
Okay, last question, I think. I know you got to go. So let's just say you get a call later on today, and and Brother Trump had an experience while he slept. And him and some other groups of people, they begin to see the light. And they invite you to come and talk to them. It's like, what are 3 things they can do right now to move in this direction of correcting injustice for so many years? What 3 things would you tell them?
I tell them,
okay, let me leave you on the screen.
stop tweeting.
That's number 1, right?
Stop tweeting. And with that, tone it down. Tone it down. That the people at the top have a responsibility for the climate, for the vibration and the tone. That even if you can't get to the point of being really constructive, don't be counterproductive, being destructive. So all the rhetoric about violence and bad people, just cut it out. to me, that's like the tourniquet, or, you know, you're putting the oxygen mask on the person that can't breathe. That you gotta stop that because it is fanning the flames.
Yes.
The second thing I would say after shut up is listen. Listen. There's something that's trying to be said. There's something that's trying to be expressed. At least have a curiosity about what is this? You don't get hundreds of thousands and millions of the people out in the street day after day after day unless they collectively are agreeing about something. Listen, shut up, de-escalate, and listen. The third thing that I would say at this particular point in time would be everybody's president. That at some stop with the partisan stuff. Stop with the us versus them and the othering. That we need to look at where we are now as one people, as one nation, different components. If I have a family, for example, I've got the 5-year-old who's different than the 15-year-old. It's different than the stressed out 50-year-old. It's different from the aging 95-year-old. You know, everybody's got their own needs. I'm not saying there's like one size that fits all.
Right.
But when we're making decisions about the family, everybody's got to get fed. You know, everybody has to be in it. So I know that seems really basic, but unless we get to that mindset, that just cultivates the soil. That just creates the fertility to be able to do something. But if you try to take action, if you try to plant seeds where there's no fertile soil, where nothing's been cultivated, then it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
Stop with the divisiveness. Stop with the fanning the flames. Listen. What is the pain? What's going on? And start to perceive this as a single nation. Don't send in the troops because the citizens are the enemy. The press is not the enemy. Like, stop it. I mentioned that I do prison outreach work. One of the guys that got us in there he just recently retired. He's a Muslim chaplain, the Imam Salam, the Imam Michael Salam. And I love this. I love to hear him talk. He's just, And he was saying how when every baby is born, every baby speaks the same language. Every baby speaks the same language. He says, but you learn which one means what. You know, this one means I'm wet. This is I'm hungry. You know, this is pick me up. This is I'm sleepy. So you learn to decipher what each of those different cries means, and you tend to those needs. And then he stopped and just said, when did you stop hearing my cry?
So we've digested this, we've taken it in, we're blending it, seeing how it feels. And so to the audience out is who I'm talking to. The question is, what you gonna do with what you got? The next is action. It's more than that was great for my soul. Is that too? I needed to hear that. Now we got to translate that into action. We have it's like there's a call for us to prove to ourselves that we heard what you've shared by how we live our lives from this point forward. And that's the best way to say amen, Rev D, by letting your actions be an example of what you heard.
Yep.
Thank you, Rev D. You said you have a workshop coming up. When is it? And do you have any information on that or date?
Can I give one example? But before I go.
Oh, sure. You know, I'll keep you a whole day if I can. I'm just.
So one of the great civil rights activists, James Lowry, came and spoke at UC for our Martin Luther King convocation a few years ago. And I believe he was in Mississippi, and he was talking about a march that he was doing, and it was to the nation's capital. And it was like a 3-day march, and people weren't coming, and the government was passing out hams, free hams, to like bribe people not to march. And he was so disappointed because everybody kept taking these hams. And when the march started, it started raining. And he was like, oh God, are you against us too? But they started marching. And as they kept marching, it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when they got to the state's capital, there were truckloads of ham sandwiches for the protesters, to feed the protesters. And I thought that was just so brilliant, which is my way to remind people that maybe you're not called to be on the front line. You know, maybe you're not going to be the one marching. Maybe you just bake some cookies for the ones who do. And make sure that they're nourished. You know, it's like everybody is called to do something. And if we stop with the chant, I don't know what to do, and keep the mantra, Lord, send me. I am willing and able to do whatever you would have me do. If you substitute, I don't know, with yes, the answers will start to come to you.
Yes, I am able. Yes, I'm available. Yes, I am here. I am willing.
Yes.
God can do for us what God can do through us.
Yes. And, you know, I'm embarrassed because I don't have the calendar in front of me, but I think that date is the 20th. I think that's June the 20th. I think that's a Saturday.
Okay.
But we will definitely, I'll make sure that you get the link to it. It's a workshop called Pulled by Vision. And it's very interactive. Bring some paper, bring some markers. We're going to do some visioning. And you'll have an opportunity to see, how do you change your narrative? You're going to have an opportunity to see, witness for your own self, how you speak of different things, you know, social issues and things that are going on. and have a chance to take a deep dive into what is Spirit trying to tell you about those things, and how can you shift the conversation that you're having within your own self and the conversations that are happening out in the world. It'll be about an hour and a half to 2 hours, but a lot of fun. And I'll make sure you get the information on that.
Yes, please. I'd be happy to share it, and I'll be there.
Yes,
In the meantime,
yes, thank you.
The Sacred Yes, Letters from the Infinite. So if you think, oh my God, that book looks old, that's because I use it. And the volume 2 is Your Deepest Intent. There's nothing you could think about that's not in this book. Marriage, the chapters on marriage are just off the chain. I just prescribed that for some friends recently. Yes. Be my lover.
Yes. Each book deals with the personal, the interpersonal, and the more global macro. The Sacred Yes, the more macro letters in that one are more about spirituality, religion, and the church. Your Deepest Intent, the collective letters in there are to the United States of America, about our politics. In fact, the book is dedicated to the United States of America. What is our deepest intent? And they can both be found electronic versions as well online. And it's truly for such a time as this.
Indeed. And I just opened to this chapter, blinded by your own light.
Yeah. These are downloads. They're messages that come in the form of letters. It's prophetic writing.
And they're just on point. Rev D, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so grateful for you. Thank you for all you do, for reminding us. And I'm so grateful that I have direct contact to you.
Yeah.
Love you very much.
Peace to everybody.
Peace and blessings. It's time to release the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Rev D, she gave us several questions, but I only caught 2 of it, and two of it is good enough. Do you know what you're uplifting? What are you uplifting? Do you know what it is? And the second question is, and what you're uplifting, do they know what you hold sacred? That's the call. That's the call to us all. If we want to be about the change, we must ask ourselves, what do we hold sacred? And are we willing to live that, to be that, to broadcast that, to show up as that? We are the answer. We are the answer. That's the real work. We feel it, we deal with it, and we heal it. I came in feeling I was experiencing all kind of grief in the experience. I was grieving, and I was dealing with it. And I can tell you that Rev D brought me to a place of centeredness. And I'm going to listen to this again because this is needed. So I want you to know that I love you, I bless you, I appreciate you, and I thank God for you. And whatever you're growing through and going through, be gentle and take inspired action. We're releasing the conversation with my brother, John Stringer, who's in the chat room. Actually, what I'm going to do is tell you is, if you go to John Stringer's website, johnstringerinc.com, he was my guest last week and the week before that, johnstringerinc.com, and look for, he has an album called Limitless Love and Light. Go to Black Lives Matter, that's a spoken word, and then there's a song, We Matter. I was trying to get all that ready to play today, but I'm like, okay, I guess it doesn't matter. So I couldn't get it on here. I tried so many different things. It's called We Matter. It speaks directly to what is going on, as well as Rev D's book, The Sacred Yes and Your Deepest Intent. Your deepest intent. Your deepest intent. Once again, I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back next week, next Tuesday, 6 p.m. UK time, BST, and that's 1 p.m. Eastern daytime. what is it? EDT. Peace and blessings. Thank you for being here.
There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine.